the biggest lesson that you've learned being a father?
Extreme patience.
So what is one major thing that you're like, kids really need to know this before they turn 18? Structure.
Because structure is a discipline within itself. You'll be okay.
Structure and routine. So last question for you. God forbid something happens to you today or tomorrow. You want to leave something with your kids, leave something about that, whether it's a thought, a phrase, anything. What's that thing you want to leave with your kids? All right, family, listen. We're here for another interview. We got another father, a good friend of mine, and we're gonna tap into his idea and his perspective on fatherhood. You know, we got a lot of fathers already in the books, and we just want to get, there's a lot of wisdom that comes from what fathers do on a day-to-day basis that we don't even talk about. So tell the people your name, man.
Wesley Allen.
Okay. So Wes, what now I call him Wes. That's affectionately I call him Wes. So like a lot of friends and family. So Wes, how many kids you got, man?
3.
You got 3 kids. Okay, so boy, girl, 2 boys, 1 girl, 2 boys,
2 boys, 1 girl.
2 boys, 1 girl. Okay, what are they ages right now?
Lord, oldest is 22.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then Emmanuel is 12.
Okay.
JoJo is 8.
Oh wow! So you got a range. You got a range, man. I absolutely love that. Before I get into the ages and that dynamic, what do you do for work, man?
I'm retired now.
Okay,
Retired broadcast engineer.
Woo. Broadcast and engineering, man. I know we can talk about that all day long, but when it comes to the reason I ask our fathers about what they do for work is because I know a lot of times that has a lot to do with how some of that leadership or anything that they pull from that goes into their parenting at times. So, and I know you could talk about the leadership perspective and managing and all that kind of stuff, and how you kind of blend those roles. So that's amazing. That's amazing. How do you deal with that? As a father, talking to your oldest, your adult child, versus how you're talking to your younger kids at home. How do you deal with that?
Honestly, I don't talk to them any different.
Okay. Okay.
I try to teach them the same things. It's all the same formula.
Gotcha.
It's broken down in different ways. And that's just something I got from my dad.
Right. Now, when you say broken down in different ways, do you mean you give
Level
them
of understanding.
level of understanding? I love that. I love that. So that's a message of you knowing your kids, knowing what they need at that moment in time. Okay, I get it.
Because Keenan is, even though he's the oldest,
Right.
he needs to be spoon fed a little bit. The one that understands the most, believe it or not, is my 12-year-old.
Really? Yeah. Really? Sharp as a tack.
Think about it. You get quiet, listens,
right?
Even when you don't think he's listening. JoJo, you just
JoJo, right?
JoJo.
Okay. Absolutely love it, man. So, so with that in mind, at this stage in your life and at this stage in your fatherhood, what's the biggest lesson that you've gotten being a father that you've learned? The biggest lesson that you've learned being a father?
Extreme patience.
Extreme patience. I got a feeling I know what that means, but tell me where you have that extreme patience. For a reason.
You learn a lot with your oldest child.
Okay.
When they go through different stages. So, as a small child, even though he may have reminded you of yourself, our dynamic was different because we're divorced. So what he got from his mom and what he got from me, 2 different things. Wow. So he didn't process information the same way. He had to learn how to process it 2 different ways, 2 different households. So when he got to me, he thought I was a little bit more strict.
Okay. So goes the story. Right?
So other than his mom. But that's where the extreme patience comes in, because even though you have a kid that grows up in 2 different households, you have to learn how to understand that child is getting the information from 2 different people in 2 different ways.
Wow. That required, that leads me right into what I want to ask you next is, how did you manage leadership in that way? Because obviously there's a dynamic there that you have to have the extreme patience for. But how did you manage, leadership in that way where there was, that family challenge there, right? Because y'all are still a family regardless of, that the marital status. So how did you handle, leadership in that way to benefit your children the most?
Oh, well, I made him understand that just because he's the oldest and me and his mother were divorced, these these are the rules.
Right.
The rules don't change. Regardless of what goes on.
Yeah.
Now, if I have to explain them to you a little bit more because of the dynamic of the household.
Right.
I can explain it, but guess what? You still get the same punishment.
You still get the same thing. Listen, you said the consequences don't change. I can give you all the explanation in the world, but the consequences ain't gonna change. And that's man, what I hear you saying is that regardless of life in general, you have to keep that standard for your children, because if you don't, if you waver on the standard, then there's no telling where they're gonna be, where they're gonna go.
And by yourself,
absolutely,
your children see the standard you set for yourself.
Absolutely.
So as long as they can see that you're not telling them anything different in the accountability that you hold for yourself, then it kind of pans out. Because in the explanation was how I roll for myself.
Right.
So if I'm gonna hold myself accountable, think I'm not gonna hold
you accountable. That's just the way the accountability. Sorry. No, I absolutely love that, because you're talking about, we can say something, but if we're not doing it, it's falling on deaf ears all day long, every day, twice on Sunday, right? So yeah. So I absolutely love that. So when you're thinking about setting standards and balancing that leadership piece, is there times in your life, from the oldest to the youngest, even, have you had to apologize to your kids in any way? In what ways have you had to apologize?
Listen, family, if you're enjoying these conversations, take a second to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. Now let's get back to the interview.
For me, especially when I was working, I was pretty much a workaholic. And sometimes I would allow some things at my job to take over time that I should have had with them. So I would explain to them what was happening, because Daddy's trying to do something to get us to a different place. But there was no excuse.
Right.
Because I still owe you this time.
Absolutely.
So that means that I'm going to hold myself accountable.
Yep.
I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
Because I need you to understand I can make a mistake.
Right.
But I know how to correct that mistake.
That's good. That's real good. And I'm gonna tell you why, because what I'm thinking about is, I think kids learn well, when we're open and honest and vulnerable with them. Because if they start to try to see perfection, and then the first time we mess up, it's like, all things, look at you. And then there's the resentment that gets built too, because they're looking at this, this model of perfection that, none of us are perfect.
But they know that Daddy's not perfect.
He said, listen, I just showed them over and over again. There ain't no perfection there.
They know Daddy's not perfect,
Yeah.
but Daddy is also humble enough to apologize for it.
I love that, man. I love that. And a lot of people, I think sometimes we let ego get in the way of even our family, let alone the work and the world and all of that. But man, I think that's amazing. So when you're talking about leadership and things of that nature, what kind of things have you pulled from your father, that whether it's a balance of, man, I really want to make sure I implement this with my kids, or that's not how I want to raise my kids. Either or, what kind of things have you pulled from your father? Because I think in all situations, all circumstances, we're learning. We're learning from our parents.
We definitely learn.
What kind of things have you pulled from your father that you kind of implemented in your fathering, or the opposite?
On time is before time.
On time is before time. Explain that to me. What you mean?
So, working in broadcast, most of the time, my end time was pretty early in the morning, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. So, on time for me, even though my end time was 5 o'clock,
right,
I might be there.
Okay. And how did you balance that with your kids? So like that, because that's a lesson in and of itself.
Yes.
That's a lesson in and of itself. So how did you show that to the students?
Oh, they got a chance to see it.
They saw it every day.
They saw it. So, because I can remember Kenan asked me, why you get up so early? Like, because I don't like to rush.
Yeah.
I need to be ready for anything that's going. So I'm going to work with the expectation to see something like I need to fix and everything else. Get an update from the person who was there before.
Yeah. So you talking about preparation. The one thing that probably is lost in this world is preparation.
Oh,
I mean, preparation. Before time, so you're not always rushing, and that's a huge lesson. That's a huge lesson. I need to implement that more with my son. To be honest with you, man. 'Cause what's that?
I think JoJo understands that the
More than the oldest.
the youngest one understands the.
They say I was interviewing another one of my fathers, and he was like the grandparents get a chance to really get all of the issues out on the older, and then they get it right on the younger one. So that's what I gotta hear you speaking. Unfortunately, and that's where the grace got to come in. Man, I love it. So when you're thinking about what you do for your kids and what you had to work on with your kids and all of that kind of stuff, what kind of things do you think your kids will never see from a sacrificial perspective, that they'll never understand that you as dad have had to do for them? Sacrificial perspective. I think as fathers, we always sacrificing, but what are the things that you think they're never gonna understand?
I can tell you a big one that just recently happened.
Yeah.
I live an hour away from my kids now
Mm-hmm.
because I'm recently divorced now.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing was to get them to understand that they're in a different school. That school starts at different time.
Right.
My parenting time used to be almost week on, week off. But to keep them consistent,
Yeah.
I had to explain to them right now may not be the best time for their kids. So we're going to sacrifice each other.
Wow.
But we'll try to make it up in other things like dinner. It's longer holiday.
Yeah. And I can only imagine, because you were talking about it earlier about the time spent. So you were speaking to the current situation. So how did they, what kind of things do you think that they, pull from that? What did they pull from you having to tell them about the situation that they're in?
Well, especially with your kids when they're used to spending a lot of time with you.
Yeah.
Initially, it's upset and hurt, disappointment, and you do what you have to do to smooth it over.
Yeah.
FaceTime.
Yeah.
Pick them up for lunch.
Yeah.
And you don't mind driving that extra hour.
Right.
To make them more comfortable.
So that's you're talking about the sacrifice. I mean, no matter what the circumstance is, you're talking about pure, unadulterated sacrifice. Wow. So, I mean, man, you're making me think about a lot of the time that I had to spend away from my son, just due to the military.
Yeah.
Being in the military and reoccurring theme of, all right, I'll make it up to you. All right, we'll figure that thing out, man. I think that's great that you're using it. That's it. That's it. FaceTime, whatever you want to call it, right? So when you're thinking about, your fatherhood and this day and time, and you talked about the 22-year-old, but what do you think kids need to know before they're 18 that will carry them through life? What is one major thing that you're like, kids really need to know this before they turn 18, and that you even try to speak to your kids about structure?
Because structure is a discipline within itself. So if you can learn even to get up on time, put your clothes away, routine, that type of stuff, you'll be okay.
Structure and routine, because that I think what I even hear from that is your structure and routine should be building something in you when you move forward, even on the small thing.
I'll tell you this. I wanted to play football.
Right.
When I was a kid.
Okay.
And my dad said, I'll be able to determine how bad you want to play, about what you want to do to play. And I used to think about it. I was like, what do you mean?
Why are you saying that?
He's saying that.
So what lesson did you get from that?
I need to get up. I need to train my body. I need to do the things that I have to do to be successful in life, whatever that meant for me.
Right.
It's different for everybody else. But what I learned, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna run an extra mile. I'm gonna take the extra workout. I may stay afterward.
Right.
I may study more film. I may study more play. That's if I really want to do it.
Right.
If I didn't want to do it, he would tell me, "Don't waste my time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not gonna put that for it, don't expect
No,
me
you do it.
Don't expect me to put it in. I'm not gonna pay for this if you're not gonna really want to do it."
No, that's a real lesson in and of itself, because the world is a whole lot more harsher than that when it comes to, the things that you want to do. They'll let you go. A job will let you go in a minute if you're showing you don't want to do it. A school will get you kicked out of there real quick if you ain't dived in and locked in. So, man, I love that. So last question for you. God forbid something happens to you today or tomorrow. You want to leave something with your kids, leave something about that, whether it's a thought, a phrase, anything. What's that thing you want to leave with your kids?
Love, and Daddy showed his love.
Daddy showed his love.
Mm-hmm.
You want to leave that with them.
They'll always have that. I don't even have a doubt in my mind that they would have that. I don't focus a lot on material things.
Sure.
The time it's when things are going, that kind of stuff.
But listen, y'all, if you don't know anything about Wes, you're gonna know that his kids love him. Based off of this. So listen, this is another father that is doing the work, regardless of the challenges, regardless of anything else that happens. You got to be there for your kids. So listen, the only way we're going to continue to get this message out is if y'all like, share, and subscribe, because most people don't even recognize that. I know there's a plethora of fathers out there doing the work in their own way and in their own right. So listen, y'all, continue to stay locked in, and we'll see y'all on the next interview. All right, peace.
Remember, D, in all the interviews he does, there's a lot of fathers that don't fall into the stigma of the way they try to portray us.
Y'all heard it.